Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Monday Minute, brought to you on Sunday now instead of Monday, but brought to you by the Independent Dealer Podcast and Neo, our sponsor, great partner in the business. If you're in the buy here, pay here world and you don't have a scoring model, you need to research, you need to get in touch with Neo. Give them a call. Scott, great friend of mine, Naveen, awesome guy, knows his stuff. They'll walk you through the process and get you set up. Today, we're going to talk about training inside your dealership or your business. So building a training program for your company. Every company needs a training program. Even if you're one person, you need that because the process of getting better takes training. And if you're not doing it, you don't get any better. I'm a runner, so I know that I have to run on a consistent basis to be a good runner. And if you do anything, you need consistency. You need to know what you're doing. So number one, when it comes to building a training program within your business is consistency. So like I said, I'm a runner. I know I need to run 100 miles or so a month to stay in shape and to keep the fitness that I want. In our dealership, we train twice a week. We train Tuesday mornings is service training. And so we know every Tuesday morning at 8:30, that's what we're doing. We have our sales training Friday morning at 8:30. We do it every Friday. If you don't, you miss one, you miss two, then you miss four. It's a lot easier. But if everybody knows what we're doing when we're doing it, it's so easy to keep up with and it gets you better. Within that consistency, you need structure of how you operate your training programs. First thing you do is review what you did last week. Ask a few questions. Then, I love a whiteboard, as y'all see. I write everything on the whiteboard, then we discuss. We practice. We try to get better at what we do. The structure is review, train, review again. Pretty simple, right? Number three, develop training materials. This is something I'm not as good at as I need to be. But you should have a handout every time you go into training. Outline what you're doing so that people can answer questions. Some people like to put questions in there. And also put the review part right at the beginning. Make that inside of a notebook that everybody brings to training sessions every week. That really gives good consistency inside of that structure. And they can go back and look at it if they forget something. Number four, you've got to identify what you need to train on. This can be difficult sometimes when you go over and over and over things, but if you know what numbers that you're tracking and how you need to get better, this is where it comes from. So if I know that we're having difficulty closing appointments, or if we're having difficulty getting bigger down payments, we can train on keywords that allow us to get better. But first you have to identify what you need to train on before you can do it. So I would say get into your company's numbers a little bit more. That way you can identify those things. If you don't know your numbers, it's going to be really hard to identify. Number five, once you've identified those numbers, you got to measure your training results. And that's hard for any of us if we're really not keeping up with what we're doing. And if you can't identify, you can't measure. So what I would say to do is, okay, our show ratio on our appointments is, let's say it's 25% right now, but we know industry average needs to be 50%. So I'm going to train on the right things to say to get people to show up for those appointments, because I know if I get more people to show up for appointments, the more we're going to sell. So what I'm going to be measuring over the next couple months after we do the training on the show is how much better did it get? Did it go from 25 to 35? Did it go from 25 to 20? If so, people may not be using the words that you're asking them to use and not practicing what you're teaching. So very simple. These are 5 steps that'll get you going in the right direction. Consistency, structure, developing those training materials, identify the things you need to train on, and last but definitely not least, you've got to measure what you're training. Thanks. We're looking forward to seeing you again.